Welcome back to the Vertu YouTube channel. Today is Peugeot 208 day. Now, if you remember, the first generation Peugeot 208 didn't really hit the mark. It was a little bit of a bubble car. Then they made the second generation, which turned out to be one of the best selling small hatchbacks across Europe. Well, we've got a facelifted version of that second generation, so we're going to see if they've made small tweaks to make it even better. Stick with us and we'll find out. So it's actually 2019 that they made changes to the Peugeot 208. So we've waited a little while for this facelift. Now, what have they actually done? Well, we've got the new Peugeot badge roaring at us. That is an indication that this is newer than anything we've seen from the Peugeot 208 range. And what have they done? Well, they've done some subtle things. Let's talk about the grille first of all. It's still really cool, very aggressive, a nice little pattern, similar to sort of Kia Sportage that we had a few weeks ago. I quite like this sort of grille, but subtle thing that I really quite like about it is that the higher trim levels get the same coloured grille as the paintwork, and I really like that, whether it be yellow, a Guida yellow, this is obviously white, they've got grey, they've got some other colours. There's 7 colours actually available on this 208, and I really quite like that the grille is the same as the paintwork. They've obviously got a little bit of air intake down there as well. We've got sensors all over the place, but something of note is these 3 lights that they've got, sort of similar to Wolverine's claw is what I'm going with. I really quite like that. Nice and aggressive, look really cool when they're lit up as well. A little bit of air intake there as well, but that 3-pronged attack like Wolverine's claw isn't just on the front, it is actually replicated in the rear tail lights as well, and I think Peugeot have done a really good job. Now, this is a GT line model, so you will see little accents all over the place. We've got the contrasting roof, black roof. It's not actually a pan roof. We've got the black mirror caps. We've got some rear privacy glass, and then we've got some wheel arches in black as well. And the black and white combo is doing it for me on this 208. I've made my way from the front to the back, but on my way there I had to stop off at the wheels. These are 17-inch on this GT model, 16-inch on the entry model. I think they look really nice and go with that sporty aesthetic. But as the back you can see here, it's really nice. Lights go into this bar right across with Peugeot, proud as punch on the back there, and we've also got the black spoiler, and as I mentioned, those lights have got that 3-pronged attack. We're going to stick with Wolverine. I really quite like the analogy. We've got hybrid written there, 208. We've got lots of little touch-ins. We've got GT just on the back there, so a little bit more wording on your Peugeot 208. Hybrid is used in the sort of looser sense of the word, and I'll come on to that as to why it's more of a mild hybrid rather than an actual plug-in hybrid. But I think it looks really nice at the back and the front. Let's jump on the inside and see if they've given this facelift model any more tweaks. Now, before I jump in, the cameraman just told me to check out the boot because he wants me to do that next, so I'll do it next. The boot is actually pretty big, 311 litres worth of space, so it's actually a little bit more than some of the competition, the Audi A1, also the Renault Clio hybrid version, more than that as well, so you get a lot more space. We've got 60-40 split on the seats there, but what I will say about this boot, that's pretty much it. You don't actually have anything else. You haven't really got much under floor sort of storage there. There is a big lip to put in there. There's no flat load space, and there isn't actually any charging points. There's no tethering points. There's not much else going on with the boot. Other than that, it's just quite big. But that's what you want from your boot, isn't it? I don't know, I've been spoiled with boots lately. But yeah, 40-60 split, and it is pretty easy putting the seats down from here. It's just a little button there, just a little button there, and then we're down. There's a little bit of a lip there to get things into like a flat load space. You're not going to be able to do it. But pleased with the size. However, there are no thrills and spills with this boot. Up front here in the Peugeot 208 is really, really nice. As soon as I get in, I'm greeted by a very nice interior. Actually, on a par, I'd say, with the Audi A1 and the Renault Clio, a couple of the competitors, perhaps even the VW Polo as well. For a start, there's a little bit of hard plastic around here. However, there is some nice soft material here in places. We've got a bit of a leather effect there on the handle, and then this little bit of material goes all the way across the dash, and it is squidgy over here as well. We've got a nice little bit of a sort of metallic line there as well, which is nice. And then the dash itself, again, a squidgy material with a little bit of the sort of greeny yellow stitching. I would say more green, greeny yellow stitching there. Again, makes it seem really sporty. And I was expecting small hatchback equals hard plastic. That's what I was expecting, but it actually hasn't. It's a really, really nice effect. So I'm really pleased with that. Let's talk about steering wheel. The Peugeot steering wheel is always, I don't know, reminds me of a little racing car steering wheel, because they are always so small, and I think sometimes on the big SUVs they look tiny. A little 208 though fits perfectly, and I've got some buttons on there. I've got some flappy pedals to make it feel like I'm a racing driver, and I've got GT looking at me just to remind me I am in the GT trim level, which is really, really good. Again, nice and sporty. I've got a couple of displays. I've got a driver display in front of me, which is really nice indeed. Now, if I just sort of turn the car on for you, it's 3D effect. I've got my car sat there and things are sort of poking out at me like I've got the 3D glasses on in the cinema. My speedo is there. I've got my fuel. I've got lots on there. I've even got a little Peugeot with the French flag, the tricolor on there. So yeah, very, very happy with that. I think that's quite cool and quite a nice touch. I'll stop the engine whirring at me. And then I've got my infotainment system here. All Peugeots get the 10-inch screen infotainment system. There's not smaller infotainment systems in entry-level trim all the way up to GT Premium, which I think is really nice, because you know, in as standard you're getting the same as what the people are with GT Premium, and there is quite a difference price-wise from the entry-level style all the way through to the Allure GT and GT Premium. So there we go. That is a very, very pleasing part of being up front here in the Peugeot 208. Let's get onto the seats. Now, this is obviously a GT, as I mentioned, and we have got half leather and half sort of material, very sporty seats, hug me very nicely. We've got lots of that stitching throughout, and it is very, very nice. We haven't got any electric seats. They are the bar underneath, and we've got a lever down here to control my seat position, as echoed with the steering wheel position. Lots of reach, lots of up, lots of down, and there we go. Very, very easy indeed. Let's go through those trim levels. First of all, style. Style, make something happen. Don't shake your head, make something happen. You get 16-inch alloy wheels, you get the auto lights in there as well, but then you go a little bit more and you get Allure. Allure. So, make something happen with that. Allure, you get dual zone climate control, you get privacy glass, you also get the auto wipers, and then you get that cool 3D funky display on the Allure. Then you get GT, which is this one, and GT, you get 17-inch alloys, you get wireless charging, you also get keyless entry, you get auto dimming mirror as a plane goes overhead, and then you get GT Premium, which you get different materials and nicer bits. There's a lot of options when it comes to trim level, but as I always say, make sure you get in touch with Vertu and get the right Peugeot 208 for you. But what I would say, the real value from lots of other reviewers out there and me, I think, is in the entry level, because it does start to creep up as you go up through the options. But again, go have a little look yourself. Storage in the Peugeot 208. Now, this is a good thing. However, I've not got the cameraman's wallet because he's left his coat at the office. Anyway, I've got a couple of bottles and I've got a phone. Right, door bin. We've got loads of room in there for my bottle, and there's a little bit of room in there for extra stuff. It's fine, it's big enough, it's a big enough door bin. Right, okay, cup holder number 1, cup holder number 2. These are quite small bottles, as I always say. I need some bigger bottles. No, I need some bigger bottles to put it to the test, but they are fine in there. I quite like that it's quite secure. It comes up quite high, so you're not rattling around in there too much. That is good. This armrest does double up as some more storage, and look at this. I've got something that comes out. We don't do ashtrays anymore. Does look like mints again, snacks. I don't know why you take it, but it's a removable bin, but I just don't know what that bin could hold. But anyway, this is a big storage compartment. I'm going to go really deep in there. Look at that. That is surprising how big that is. That can get in there. I'm wondering if it can get 2 in there. Can it? No, it can't. You can get more in there. You get more stuff in there though. My hand goes all the way down to the bottom of the car. And then we've got a couple little cubby holes here. I've got my 12-volt charging point there. I've got USB-C on the passenger side, USB-C on my side, so we're not fighting over one USB-C point. That is very good for charging. I've got a cubby hole here that can fit keys and phones and other stuff in. And obviously this is an automatic there, so I've got the centre console taken up by that. But look, if I push this, another little hole comes up, and that is your wireless charging pad for the trim level that has the wireless charging. So there we go. That is quite cool. Look at that. Perfect for a phone. You can close it up, shut it up for the journey. Perfect. Let's have a little look at the glove box. Not the deepest thing in the world. Does it fit my bottle? Oh, maybe. Oh, no, it doesn't. Doesn't fit my bottle, so not that much room in the glove box. And I've got a door bin over there. I'm not too displeased. It's a Peugeot 208. It's not the biggest car. It's not an SUV, and I do just quite like doing this. So yeah, go on. You can go elsewhere. I'm just gonna do this. Back seats in the Peugeot 208. Right. Okay. I didn't think it was going to have a lot of room. That is my driving position, and I've got enough room, I'd say, for my feet go under the seat, which is quite nice, and I've got enough room, 6 foot, so no, that's all good with me. I've got a very small door bin here. That's not going to fit a bottle in. It will fit my Twix wrapper that I had earlier, and maybe my hula hoops wrapper in there as well. Won't even fit the cameraman's wallet in there, but that's fine. I've got a door bin. Sometimes you don't get door bins in these little hatchbacks. I've got a USB-C charging point. We've got 2 of them, 2 of those, which is good. I'm not going to be fighting. Actually, one of them is USB and one of them is USB-C. There we go. I jumped to conclusions and thought that was 2 USB-C. One of them's USB. We're traveling back in time. So there we go. We've got both of those. I wonder if that's going to change soon to just USB-C. But there we go. So 1 charging point for USB-C, 1 charging point for USB. And then just to mention, you've got these seat pockets here, but they're very, very small. I reckon a small iPad is fine, but they're very small. You can come up halfway, just make them bigger, surely, just make them bigger. But yes, let's talk about the seats. The seats literally run through from the from the front seats all the way through to the back. That half leather with the sporty stitching and everything with the material, it looks really, really nice. So I really like that. I do not have a center console though with any armrests or any cup holders, just to let you know, but you can get 3 across the back here. It's gonna be a squeeze to get 3 across the back, but you can do it. There's not only, so we were in another small hatchback the other day, but they only do 2. Renault 5, obviously Toyota Aygo, they only allow 2 in the back of those cars. This one's slightly bigger, obviously it's Renault Clio territory, it's Polo, they get 3, but it's going to be a bit of a squeeze. Isofix points, if you are looking for this as a family car, we have zips. We don't have clips, and they are quite accessible, but they have got zips. Now, when it comes to the leather and the zips, you have to be fairly strong to unzip those. And I know that sounds ridiculous. You're probably like, how are you the weakest man going, Zach? Yes, I am. But I don't know, I find them a little bit, they're not, yeah. Maybe it's just a newer car and I've just got to get them loosened up a little bit. But I like clips, not zips, but they're there and they're fairly accessible, and I guess they look neater with the zips. That's what people like about them, I think. And what I'd say, my headroom is pretty close, I would say. In an upright position, I'm pretty close to the ceiling. But, you know, there's no thrills or spills with the boot. There's not massive thrills and spills with the back seats. However, it's pretty comfortable. And dare I say it, compared to the competition, it's going to be in keeping. And with that front, as it is, and how it looks, I think you're going to be more pleased with the fact that that looks absolutely stunning compared to what your passengers think of the back. Okay, let's talk engine options when it comes to this Peugeot 208 just before we get in and drive it. First of all, the entry-level engine is a PureTech 100, which to you and me means a 1.2 litre petrol engine that gives you 99 brake horsepower and will get you to 60 in around a 10.1 seconds. Now that's the entry-level model. There are two other models. They're the hybrid model, so hybrid 110 and a hybrid 145. The hybrid 110 actually doesn't give you any more power as such, 99 brake horsepower, a little bit quicker to 60, 9.8 seconds, and then there's the hybrid 145, which gives you around about 145 brake horsepower and gets you to 60 miles per hour a little bit quicker. However, the hybrid 110, the hybrid 145, let me explain why it's not a hybrid in its truest sense of the word. It's a mild hybrid system, so the electric power actually doesn't really help you until the start-stop function and a little bit at very low speed, but it's not really noticeable. It's not like a true plug-in hybrid. What I would say is that lots of people are saying the best option is the entry-level 1.2 litre petrol engine, but this one here on the GT line is an automatic, and it is the 110 version. So let's get in and drive it and see if it actually delivers on those miles per gallon and fuel efficiency grades as well as performance. As I said, the mild hybrid system kicks in at very, very low speeds and when a stop-start function is being operated, so it cannot really be called a true hybrid. But in terms of miles per gallon, you are going to be pretty pleased with the Peugeot 208, no matter what trim you go for, whether it be the entry-level 1.2 litre petrol engine gives you 99 brake horsepower, or the mild hybrid options, even the 145, they all get good miles per gallon. You can expect, I mean, the book will say sort of 60s, I would say around about 50s for those four aforementioned 99 brake horsepower options, the entry level model, as well as the mild hybrid 110, and then the 145 you're probably looking at late 40s in terms of miles per gallon. So for a small hatchback, that is going to be in keeping with the rest. Just to let you know that you've got something that feels sporty, looks sporty, but is not going to have to constantly be filled up at the petrol station. Now, when driving this, we want to know, first of all, how does it handle in and around town driving and lumps and bumps in the road? Well, the good news is there is a slightly softer suspension than some of the sportier editions out there, the Audi A1 and the Clio I keep on mentioning, and we might as well keep on doing that because we drove the Renault Clio the other day, and I love a Renault Clio. I love the looks of it, and I was really pleased that we're going to get to do this to compare it directly to that. And what I'd say is that it actually handles the lumps and bumps in the road and potholes, etc., a little bit better. You can barely feel them, and I think that softer suspension really helps on a UK country road. It goes when you put your foot down in this particular model. Now this is the GT model, and it does have a little bit more bite than the entry-level 1.2 litre manual petrol that I mentioned. This is the automatic gearbox, and when I put my foot down, there's a little bit of lag, but it's pretty responsive, and I'm pretty happy. In terms of visibility, I've got lovely visibility out the front. These pillars are a little bit thicker than perhaps the Polo has got on it, and in the rear view I'm pretty happy with that as well. In fact, I'd say that's a little bit better than the Capri that we had the other day, and that is an SUV. So visibility is not a problem in the Peugeot 208. In terms of infotainment system, now you know I like buttons as well as a functioning touchscreen infotainment system, and I do not have many buttons at all. In fact, very few. The fan for the climate control has to be managed via the infotainment system. I do find that a little bit distracting. I prefer the option of both, as I keep going on about them in every single video I do. Lots of people, I'm sure, will be able to navigate it absolutely fine. In terms of the infotainment system, it's pretty easy to use, very responsive and not too distracting in terms of getting to where I need to go. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard as well, which is a good plus point. The infotainment system, the driver display looks very nice, pretty basic in terms of information, and I don't have much going on there. But in terms of usability for the infotainment system, I'd like some buttons, but it's pretty decent. You do have 3 drive modes, and they can be operated here, just near the electric handbrake. Now, normal, eco and sports. I've put it into sports and it does feel a little bit different. Obviously, they've got to make it a little bit different. They've got to make the exhaust note a little bit different, and when you put your foot down, it needs to go a little bit longer between gears, and it does feel quite fun. Don't expect it though to set the world alight. This isn't a sporty car really in terms of numbers. If you were looking for that, you'd look at the E208 GTI, which, by the way, sounds a bit of a weapon. 276 brake horsepower with a 0 to 60 of under 6 seconds. Now, wait till I get hold of one of those, and then we'll all hold on to our hats, because that sounds absolutely fantastic. In terms of the fun element, perhaps it's lacking a little bit, but this car is forever, I think, going to be so popular, just because it's stunning looks, and they'll continue just tweaking it to make the 208 fit in with the rest of a very crowded market. And dare I say it, the entry level version of this, I think, in terms of value for money, could be the best out there. There's a few more to drive yet, but this is up there. And finally, reverse camera. What's it like? Flip it into reverse. Well, the good news is, because the infotainment system is appropriately sized, it means it fills up pretty much the whole screen. And the good thing is, I've got my top down 360 view camera just to help me park, got sensors all over the place, and I'm pleased to say it's an HD screen. Yes, it is. I'm very happy, and I can even click the option to give me that panoramic full screen there, and then I can have it split out. So I'm pretty pleased with the reverse cam. There we go, that is the 208 done, and Peugeot have made tweaks to what was already a pretty stunning small hatchback. This is a GT line model, but what we've learned is that actually, as standard with the entry level model, you've got great value for money with this particular small hatchback. So do not discount the Peugeot 208 when looking for your next run around. But don't take my word for it, get in touch with Vertu, drive one of these, and you will not regret it. As I always say, we will see you on the next one.